Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary, the full summary of the day of 213, 24th of September. Why I emphasize the full is because that I have created a new form of SITREP called Tiny SITREP. So a tiny version of the summary of what happened in Ukraine, squeezing what is probably a 30 minutes video into just 3 minutes. And so this is part of the new effort to combat the YouTube shadow banning army, and their algorithm is pretty messed up. I believe that some of you guys has been asking for a quicker SITREP for months already, and I realized that there is possibly a way to do. I just don't cover every single little thing. So I realized that maybe this might be interesting for you guys. While I believe there are still many of you prefer the long one with a lot more information and more details, which we will now be doing. So as usual, do press the like button. When you feel like doing it, you don't have to do it very early. Because I just worried that if you press the like button too early, YouTube might not take it as a valid like. So anyway, let's start off with the referendum turnout. So the turnout of the referendum on day 2 is similar as day 1. Basically more or less like a times 2 of what was happening yesterday. So 31.79% in Kherson, like I said, is a bit low. Because yesterday was just 15.31, and then Zaporizhia is 35.54, which is a lot lower than what was yesterday, because Zaporizhia was at 20.52. So the turnout has dropped significantly by 25%, and DPA is 55.5, and which is Donetsk, and Luhansk is 45.86. And given all these kind of numbers, if you are neutral like me, then you can actually tell that this turnout numbers seems to be legitimate. It's not made up, because if it's made up, then you will probably see some kind of like a turnout like 80% in the first day, the sort of things. So unless they are doing an elaborate scam, but I would believe that the turnout seems to be more or less accurate. So seems natural. And moving on, this is 23rd, so there's no other statements coming out which I think I want to cover. So let's move on to the southern front. At the southern front, this is covered yesterday because the information came out later. So anyway, I will just cover it again since it's the summary. There is a reconnaissance from the Ukrainian side, trying to find where is the defense line and see if there is any weakness on the Russian lines at Pravdany. And while this is happening, there is a reinforcement and regrouping of troops. So there are troops reported going out of Mykolaiv city, and there are reinforcement reported at Merne, where a recon group with quadrocopters has arrived. So which means that they're going to do even more recon to actually test, to check out the entire front line to see where they should strike next. There is a gathering of armored vehicles 2.5 kilometers west of Ternovi Podi. So 2.5 kilometers, you can see it's around here, and looks like they are holding a position here, because this can be a weak point if it is not reinforced. There is also reinforcement reported at Lyubomirivka, where the 28th separate mechanized brigade is transferred over there along with ammunition. So it continues to look like the Ukrainians is going to launch an offensive around the Posaporovsky region here towards Kherson. The referendum is currently ongoing, and the low turnout at Kherson is also possibly because a lot of the territory, a lot of the people that is on the voting list is actually not in Kherson. This is my suspicion, because they can't possibly have the full list of people that are in the Russian side, and it's just not likely that they have everyone. I think the turnout eventually might be just only 50%. So, but anyway, let's see how this goes. The turnout is rather bad in Kherson. So they might be really afraid of the Ukrainians. Moving on to the Davydiv Brid front. At the Davydiv Brid front, the Russian shelled Suki Stavok, where the Ukrainians have an entrenched position around here. So the forces that was shelled actually redraw, and I think this is a partial redraw and not a full withdrawal, but who knows who is actually in this position. They have not been able to reinforce their forces here because the pontoon bridges across along the Inhulets River has been swept away, and they were trying to build a new pontoon bridge to restore communications between the east and the west side of this river. However, the pontoon operation got spotted, and the Russian forces launched artillery shelling onto this pontoon operation. So it's unclear whether they succeeded in the pontoon operation, or is this entirely disrupted. My guess is it's entirely disrupted tentatively. So the Russians will continue to put pressure on the river to ensure that the forces over on the eastern side of the river will continue to struggle to get reinforcement until they got evacuated entirely through helicopters. Moving on to the Kryvyi Rih Front. At the Kryvyi Rih Front, reinforcement is reported at Visokopilya. So a company of the 96th Battalion arrived to strengthen the grouping around here, and there's also the 128. I forgot what is this. So Ogushp, don't know. I forgot what is separate. Don't know what brigade. Anyway, so they are around here. I think some of you guys would know and will post in the comments to tell me what is this. So has arrived at Petrivka, and it looks like either they're going to launch an offensive again, or they're actually just strengthening the defense line. But given the situation that there is referendum ongoing, the Ukrainians would want to disrupt the referendum or actually delegitimize this referendum. So launching a strong offensive to penetrate deep into Kherson region might be very attractive proposition for the Ukrainian side. So this is the southern front. On the Zaporizhia line, we have nothing new to report. So moving on to the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, fighting continues to be reported at Mykolaiv. Again, we have no information about the details of this fight. the Ukrainian offensive at Marinka is not repeated, so looks like the information of suffered losses seems to be rather accurate. And the Russians tried another time to attack Pervomaysk. This is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and so otherwise it still continues to be a very difficult battlefront around this Pisky region. So Pisky village is here, in case you are not familiar. And the fighting at Kayamka is also not repeated. So things are pretty stuck, for the Russian side over at this Avdiivka region. There's nothing happening around the New York region. Then let's move on to the Bakhmut Front. At the Bakhmut Front, this front is continued to be the main focus of the Russian forces, where fighting is reported at Kurdyumivka, and this is reported by the Ukraine Defense Ministry. And according to Ryba, the Wagner private military contractors managed to destroy the strongholds east of Oretdivka. And surprisingly, coincidentally, we do have a satellite image of a pre-war fortification. As you can see, it's a very massive fortification. You go from north to south, is 600 meters long. So, and then from east to west is 500. So this is like a pretty massive defensive position, and this is just one of it, which is built pre-war. And I think after the war have started, they probably would have built more of them. So I put this into red because the Russian forces have probably taken over this position. And over at Zaiseve, just north of it, the Ryba reported that the Wagner group had entrenched themselves in the southeast outskirts of Zaiseve. So southeast outskirt is here, southeast. So it's here, which means that our front line is actually a bit too up front. So we have pulled it back to show that the entire of the settlement is actually still under Ukrainian control. Fighting is reported at Zaitsev according to the Ukraine Defense Ministry, and so we do have entrenchment around here as well. So this entire area is heavily entrenched. The Russian forces is going to take a long time to actually, capture this entire area. So previously I have drawn the border all the way to the south of Bakhmut. Let me show you. This is probably inaccurate because when I read outskirt of Bakhmut, I thought it would be like the Bakhmut city. End up, it seems like the outskirt is actually just the Bakhmut territory, I guess. See, reach the southern outskirt, but this information is also considered south of Bakhmut, which is also an outskirt. So I redrawn the border to make it more accurate. And at Bakhmut, there is information of the Wagner group as well. Moving into Horticultural Association north of the Patrice Lumumba Street. So Patrice Lumumba Street is this street here, and north of it. So I'm not exactly sure the Horticultural Association is which building. I cannot find it on the map or any maps actually shows it. So it's a bit too granular for me. But it's probably still along this street because the street ends here. It doesn't really go any further than here. So it's likely to still be within this region that has already been marked as under Russian control. And at Soledar, fighting is reported according to the Ukraine Defense Ministry, but there's no details about this fight. And that's all from the Bakhmut front. At the Siversk Front, the Ukraine Defense Ministry reported fighting at Vimka. And Vimka is a bit weird because it's really far away from Sperne, where the previous fighting is reported is around 7 kilometers away. And which means that if this is true and the fighting is actually at Vimka, then the Ukrainian forces might have withdrawn from the Sperne region and perhaps even from Ivano-Darivka to a more defendable position, which is why fighting can be reported at Vimka. However, this is just my own guess. I have no idea what is this supposed to mean, or could it be the attack actually come from below this way up and they actually goes around the Ukrainian forces at Sperne. So no idea. So I think let's do this. This maybe makes a bit more sense. So that's all from the Siversk Front. Very quiet. Moving to the Lyman Front, where the calamity continues. There is fighting reported at Yampil. The Ukrainian forces were trying to actually go around Yampil to the rear of Lyman. However, it seems that they did not succeed. And there is a shelling reported at Shushrov. And the shelling of Shushrov actually attacked a gathering of Ukrainian forces that was which were actually preparing for attack towards Lyman. And this bombardment actually disrupted their preparation, so the offensive towards Lyman from the west did not happen. Otherwise, the fighting is actually still ongoing at Lyman, but we are not sure where is the fighting exactly now because of the breakthroughs in other parts of this front. But meanwhile, Dobyshev continued to be being fought over, and the aim of capturing Dvorichna is actually to allow the Ukrainian forces to have a route to Stavki and Dvorichna so that they can actually encircle Lyman. So the Russian forces know the significance of this town, which is why they are defending very hard over here. There comes this north part of this Lyman Front where the calamity has happened. I have been warning for days about this thing going to happen, and now it has happened, which is the breakthrough, like the dam burst and then the water just flush out, or like an avalanche or a tsunami. And again, the Ukrainians have broke through the Russian lines, and they actually now have penetrated northward as they are trying to go towards Borova-Svatove highway. And based on the initial information from Ryba's mapping, the Ukrainian forces have went as far as Proletaske. So they have captured actually Kapivka, Rukhudov, and Nove. So and then the Russian counterattack and they managed to recapture Kapivka and Nove, and they are still trying to fight against the Ukrainian forces at Rukhudov. However, the Ukrainians have entrenched themselves over here to cover the advance in the north, as the Ukrainians move probably along this road, overrunning Andriivka, Ohivka, Izumske, and I'm going as far as Proletaske. I did not indicate this as captured because it's not really captured. They are not sending forces to sit there, but it's as good as a capture, just that I put it as overrun because the forces is still on the move. It's not exactly that they stay there. Similar situation is reported at Pisky Rakiski as well as Melivka. So Melivka is a bit interesting because the pro-Ukrainian source Deep State UA actually mentioned about some videos that came out from this area that suggest that this village here is under Ukrainian control. However, the situation continues to be very fluid. I suspect that we're going to see even more breakthroughs from the Ukrainian side. They continue to spread into Luhansk Oblast. They are now at the edge of Luhansk Oblast, and I believe that they will be going into Luhansk very, very soon. So otherwise, fighting is reported between Kryvyi Rih and Kapivka, based on the latest information from Ryba, where there is fighting between the mobile groups. So it's not entrenched forces. It's like, vehicles moving around, infantry moving around. So at Kryvyi Rih, also, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry actually in their latest report reported shelling at this position. So which means that they are now, tacitly claiming control over Kryvyi Rih, which is actually very possible given that this is not a defended village. The Russians do not have a defending force over there. So I would actually believe that the Ukrainians will continue to push south and actually go for Chandriholove. And this will actually put Novoselivka in danger. And let's see how this goes. And over at the Oskil Front. At the Oskil Front, the breakthrough also continues over here in the northern part at Dvorichna, where the Ukrainians have sent more forces across the Oskil River through their pontoon crossing, and they have captured Kryanivka, as well as Horobivka. And they captured these two positions, and they already reported on the outskirts of Dvorichna, and they are preparing firing positions to capture the railway station here at Dvorichna. The target will be Tavizanka, and in this area, there is also unlikely to be much Russian forces, which means that there could be a massive dam break kind of dam burst kind of breakthrough where they spread across in this region as well. But maybe because of the forest, it's a bit not so easy to travel quickly. So let's wait and see, what will come out from here. There is no fighting reports around this region, so this is actually very significant, which means there is not much Russian troops around here. And over at the Kupyansk region, the Ukrainians continue to surge into eastern Kupyansk, and they are still fighting on eastern Kupyansk. There is a pontoon crossing happening on the northern outskirts of Kupyansk as the Ukrainians continue to try to send forces over to the eastern shore, and they are trying to actually encircle or flank the Russian forces. However, on the northern side here, there is Russian defenders. So but situation here is continuing to be very precarious, as a Sukhoi 30 or Sukhoi 34 got shot down. There's a video which I posted on DPA IRL where the Russian Sukhoi 34 or 30 got shot down. And there's in a separate video, posted by inside the Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian Telegram channel. The Ka-52, the attack helicopter, also got shot down over Podoli. So the air defense or the surface-to-air missile capability within this region, probably by manpads like Stingers, continue to be a big threat. While the Russians continue to send air force to try to reinforce and to help out in the defense of eastern Kupyansk. But these shooting downs do shows that the Ukrainians do have a certain kind of advantage over here. The Russians continue to hold the line because after Kupyansk is yet another wilderness of no Russian forces, and the Ukrainians can actually go very quickly, link up with the forces coming from the south and encircle whoever is in between, which also means that the Russian forces may not dare to hold the coastal area. They will have to pull back into a more defendable position. So let's see how this goes. So so this is the entire summary, the full summary of the day of 213 for the 24th of September. And do post in the comments what you think about this, the new format of the tiny SITREP and the full SITREP being separate. And hopefully this will actually cater to more people and help with the growth of the channel. And you haven't pressed the like button, please help me press the like button, and I'll see you in the next update.